Here we go. Do we have everything good? Okay, hold on a second. Okay, listen up. It's going to be a fun day because my friend Andrea Beaman is back to share some wonderful recipes for those of you who have been wondering, what do I make? What should I cook? What should I prepare? Wonder no more. So fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn and grow together. Are we ready? I don't hear any music, but I am almost certain there we go. I knew something was happening. Here we go.
This is
It's
the
time
place
for the
you can always
show.
turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to learn a new truth and live the life of your dreams. So here we go. The segment for the whole entire year is a new year, a new truth, and a new you. This is what we're going to be focusing on because many of us don't know. Well, gosh, all of us don't know what we don't know. We don't know. Who knows what you don't know until you start learning these truths, right? So many of us are learning about nutrition for the first time, which I am told time and time again that the conversations they hear on the Lillian McDermott radio show, they wish they would have learned in school. Imagine the diseases that we could have prevented or that we can reverse. That's what's so hopeful about learning this truth. We are no longer victims of our DNA. Well, how do you do that? How do we break from the cycles of what we know are what we inherit for preparing us for our diseases are our family recipes. So how do we rewrite and reformat these recipes? Well, health coach, author, and chef Andrea Beaman, she's world renowned, has devoted her career to helping people discover the fun, beauty, and delicious taste of healthy foods. Her passion is guiding people to incorporate better foods to their everyday life. And I'm glad that Andrea Beaman is a friend of the show. She is back once again to share wonderful recipes that heal our body all year long. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Andrea Beaman is back to do just that. Welcome, Andrea, to the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Hello, Lillian. You're such a breath of fresh air. I have to say, yes, you're such a little positive ball of love.
A positive love of ball. I can't even say it. Positive ball
of love.
Of love. Okay, got it. You know what? I'll take that compliment any day. I would say that it's really difficult, Andrea, and I'm sure that you discovered this in your life. You could probably walk away from just about anything and your family will say, oh, okay, fine, we respect that. But you walk away from the family recipes and say, I stop right now, right here. I am stopping disease. I am making a choice to prevent whatever my mother, my father, my relatives before them had today. So how was it for you making this choice and helping people see how important food is in their life?
Well, it wasn't that much of a hard choice for me. It was a matter of, do or die, so to speak. Like I didn't want to be riddled with a disease for the rest of my life. I wanted to keep my thyroid. And that wasn't an option that was given to me at the doctor's office. It wasn't, change your diet and you could heal your condition. It was, radiate your thyroid and take this medication and continue eating all the crap you're eating. There was no consciousness around it. So for me, it was like, no, I'm totally going to change my diet and my lifestyle and all that stuff. And my family, when I first changed my diet, my my family was like, this is so weird. That's just weird food. What is, it was like real food.
Yeah.
Like it's weird because, for how many years did we grow up eating standard American diet? The cabinets in the refrigerator were filled with everything that was in a package, right? Captain Crunch cereal is what I grew up with, right? So to go from Captain Crunch cereal to like an oatmeal or a buckwheat porridge or something like that was foreign to them. So I understand their resistance. And eventually when they saw how healthy I became, that's when they opened up and they warmed up, and they all contact me whenever they're sick. And they're like, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? What do I do for this?
Well, even though Andrea has written many, many books, the first time I ever learned about Andrea Beaman was with her book called Happy, Healthy Thyroid. No one ever, I've been on thyroid medication for so many years, 15, 16 years, Andrea. I was never given that option. There are so many people today that are going to be given the diagnosis of hypo, and many of them don't know that they can change their diet and that will change their thyroid. Share a little bit about that.
Well, I was a chronic dieter. I was always eating fat-free, non-fat, like Sara Lee fudge cookies with no fat, made with that old crap, right? So I changed my diet entirely from all the crap and the stimulants and the sugar and the chemical sweeteners to like real food. And it was interesting to watch my physical body change. It was really interesting.
Very good. And so that is what we're going to be talking about today and more. Not only are we going to empower you to change your lifestyle, but we're going to give you some wonderful recipes by Andrea Beaman when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. You're so sweet, Andrea. Ball of love. I've never been called a ball of love. Boom.
A human ball. Human ball of love.
I just saw a fur ball on the carpet of my rental property. And I'm like, okay, that's a ball, but a fur.
Was it a cat? Was it a cat fur ball? Oh.
Yeah. I had never seen one.
Oh, it must have been traumatizing. It's like a slimy tumbleweed that like...
I wouldn't say traumatizing. I don't want to offend anybody, but yes, it was disgusting. But so here we are today. People don't know. So when I was diagnosed with my thyroid condition, my father had a thyroid condition, my sister had a thyroid condition, and I had a thyroid condition. So it was just like hereditary. We are victims of our DNA. That's not true. We've learned that time and time again. Now, if somebody has been given a diagnosis of a thyroid condition or a diagnosis for their thyroid, what's the first thing they should do, Andrea?
They should get off all of the non-organic food because the thyroid lives on the endocrine system. And the endocrine system, there are things that disrupt the functioning and the communication between the glands. So many of the pesticides, and are we in between?
Yes, we are in between.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So many of the pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides are all endocrine disruptors, and they know that. So they're in the food. They're in the food supply. You can't wash it off. That's not the way that it works. So start to eat clean. You got to start to eat clean because otherwise this is going to accumulate in the fat cells. It's going to accumulate in the system. It's going to keep disrupting the functioning. So I would suggest, like people always say to me, Andrea, organic is so expensive. I'm like, you're worth it.
Oh, yeah. It's not expensive.
It's not.
Especially if you go to the farmer's market and when you think and you compare with medical bills.
Oh my God.
Thyroid medication costs a lot of money too, but yet
that's correct.
We find our way to it.
Yeah, and people have to stay on that for the rest of their life. At least that's what they're told, that they have to stay on it for the rest of their life.
Okay, so I've been told that, it's too late for me. Is that true? It's been 15, 16 years. I'm on Nature-Throid right now. Okay, now we're back. Now we're going back to hey, that's a friend. You can count on me. I'll be right here waiting. Okay. There we go.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn with one another. And today's teacher is Andrea Beaman. So here's the thing about Andrea Beaman. She has been on the show. She is a friend, tried and true friend of the show. And there are a lot of shows where you can learn about Andrea's philosophy, not philosophy, her learning, what she's learned in her life, what's worked for her. And so there are a lot of books that we've given away, and we've got shows that we've done that are very informative. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Check out Andrea Beaman shows. Also, during the break, we're gonna go over some of the things like how do you repair your thyroid. We're gonna go through that. So that will be posted on YouTube. So there's a little bit of everything. So during the radio, we have our topic, and off the air, we will have some other things that we talk about when we're not on the air. So if you want to watch the YouTube video, that's an option that you have. So we've gone over the first thing to do when you are trying to repair your thyroid, that Andrea said during off the air, is, get off of anything that's non-organic. So you can tap in, you can listen to the recording or watch the recording later on. Okay, so Andrea, let's talk about food. Let's talk about, that mindset and switching, some of the recipes, some of the herbs that are best for us at any time through the year.
Okay, well, it's interesting when you opened the show, you were talking about like family, and family recipes. Well, traditional family recipes, really, they used pretty much whole foods. Something happened in the 1940s when women left the kitchen and they went into the workplace, right? After World War II.
Sure.
Yeah. So they left all these great recipes behind. And when they came back, that's when we had those weird, like, Spam Jello.
Yeah. TV dinners.
Yes. All of that changed. So we actually have to go back to the great-grandparents to see what they were cooking and what they were using. And I have a great story about my grandmother.
Sure.
She was from Germany, and she had 5 kids here in America with a husband, and they were here when the Depression hit, and they had no money. And she would literally go to the store and she would buy a head of cabbage. She would buy a potato or potatoes, and she got bones, right? Just bones. And for 2 years, this is what she fed her family for 2 years. She would it was like 5 cents, and it was mostly vegetables. And none of the kids died, and they were all really healthy. And you would think, oh, they're going to starve to death. They're going to be, but it was a classic and traditional recipe that she learned when she was growing up, how to, really have some deep nutrition. So, like we can go back to recipes that were classically used and just start to put in the vegetables and put in the herbs and put in all the stuff that really makes them healthy.
Okay, so let's look at the bones. Them bones. So they are free when you go to the butcher.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, because people are okay. So with the bones, we're talking about. Are we talking about these farm manufactured bones?
Or no.
Let's talk a little bit more about the bones.
No, they have to come from animals that have been naturally raised, not fed any antibiotics or any hormones. Grass-fed. They also have to be coming from animals that were humanely treated, because we're going to absorb that energetically on a cellular level. If we're abusing the animals, like factory farms, that should be illegal. That should really be illegal. No creature should have to go through that. That reminds me of like Nazi Germany. That's what that reminds me of. When they're just these little slave, things just waiting to die. So no, that's not healthy.
And they're pumped with hormones.
Yep.
So they grow faster, and those hormones, not only are we consuming those hormones if we eat that animal, they're being tortured. And what happens when you're upset, you release enzymes that get in, and imagine the animal, they're about to be slaughtered. They know they're going to be slaughtered. So they have all those hormones being released into the meat as well.
That's correct.
We're consuming all of this, and no one's telling us that. We're not saying never to eat meat. I know that Dr. Joel Fuhrman says between 5 to 10% max. Standard American diet is 30. and most people eat more than that.
You need way more than that.
Yeah. So let's just keep that in balance and make aware of it. So do you normally, what are the benefits of a bone broth? Because we're hearing that's coming back right now, the bone broth. And now we're paying a lot of money for the powders, the bone broth powders, the collagen powders. Let's talk about how we can make a bone broth.
Well, you would first go to your butcher, the butcher that's sourcing organically and locally and sustainably and all that stuff, grass-fed animals, and you would purchase the bones from them. And, if you want a richer stock that has more collagen, you would roast the bones before you put them into the liquid. And then sometimes you would soak them overnight, sometimes they would soak them in milk or in a salt water or a brine or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a turkey is traditionally brined overnight, and same thing with chickens and stuff like that. So you would take those bones and then put them into liquid medium water and then cook them with all of your scraps that are in the kitchen, meaning if you chopped up onions and carrots and you have the peels and all the ends and all the bits, you put that into a bag because you're going to get all of that infused into your stock, all of that stuff. And then you're going to finish it with herbs. You're not just going to have bone water.
How long? Yes. How long do you do that?
It depends, on the minimum 4 hours. And then people go sometimes to 48 hours, which is really long. Like I cook mine for maybe 12 hours, sometimes overnight, 24 hours.
And do you put it in a crock pot or do you put it in, where do you cook it?
Both ways, but I encourage my clients to use crock pots because they're a little more, they're not as confident about leaving the stove on.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Yeah, so they get scared about that. So I tell them, don't worry, just put everything into a crock pot, set it for 12 hours, or 24 hours, however long, and then just leave. It's all contained. It's not going to go anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so I did that this year.
Oh, good.
For Thanksgiving. Well, not this year, last year for Thanksgiving. It's in my freezer still. So after the turkey roasted, I took the turkey bones and I put it in the bag and I put all the vegetables, all the roots, all the peels. Now, I wouldn't eat that, or should we eat that? The peels? No, you just you sift that, right? It's like Okay, so good. So I still haven't done it because I still feel overwhelmed at doing that. And not overwhelmed. I think that's the wrong word. I feel that I'm not equipped to do it. So I'm glad that you're giving us some instructions. So that's it? You just boil it? Now, do you put it in a boil and then you simmer it or how?
Well, in a crock pot, you don't have to worry about any of that. On a crock pot, you just set it and go. So you're going to set it on either high or low. So I will set it on high for about 4 hours, and then I'll set it on low for 12 hours or 18 hours or something like that.
Okay. And then how much do you consume of this?
It depends, if you're in a state of deficiency, if your body's in a state of deficiency or your bones are weak or you're feeling like you have osteoporosis or adrenal fatigue or the body immune system keeps crashing, then you want to build up your system back up. And so for some people, like with osteoporosis, I recommend they have it every day. Okay. And they've seen great results within a year where they were told that their bones would never heal.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but you will feel like I've had clients tell me, Andrea, after 6 months, they're like, Andrea, I cannot have another sip of bone stock. And I'm like, great. Trust the process. Your body is telling you that it is full.
Good.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
Listen. Yeah, we don't listen to the body. We're like, body schmotty. Well, who cares?
Yeah.
But it really talks to us.
Okay. So for those of you who want to learn more, do you have a recipe like that at AndreaBeaman.com?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Just put in bone stock or stock.
Okay, perfect.
Put in the word stock.
So let's talk about our everyday interactions. We've got the bone broth there on the side. Maybe I'll have, I think it was you who said, put the bone broth in an ice bucket, like an ice, what do you call those?
Oh, an ice tray?
And just have that, just drop it in and have it put in your tea or drink it or whatever. Is that something that you recommend? Maybe somebody else recommended that for me.
Yeah, no, I would actually take it and put it into a soup. So for example, a classic minestrone, I would take a chicken stock or a turkey stock or a beef stock or some bone stock, and then I would make my beans and my vegetables, garlic, onions, celery, carrots, and I would make and herbs, basil, oregano, and that liquid, that bone stock liquid would be the base for that soup to carry all of those minerals deeper into the body.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move on to a daily eating. One of the things that people say or think that if they start eating healthy, and of course, we talk a lot about a nutritarian lifestyle on the Lillian McDermott radio show, but not everybody is there. Not everybody is willing to do that. So, but once they realize how good they feel, they might be willing to do it. So let's talk about some of the foods that can make us feel full. Many people starve themselves when they think diet, but the reality is you should never feel hungry.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there are times to feel hungry, right? You don't want to be stuffed.
Yeah.
You want to actually have some hunger in you when you're like ready for dinner, because then your salivary gland is going to be activated as soon as you smell food, you smell something cooking, right? So you want to have a little bit of hunger drive, but you don't want to starve yourself. You want to be satisfied. So fiber-rich vegetables do that. So like, for example, cabbage, like I was talking about my grandma, right? A head of cabbage and throw it in the soup. There are so many things that you could do with cabbage, and it is cheap.
Yes.
You could make cabbage salad. You can make slaws. You could use the cabbage leaves to roll up stuff. I mean, it's rich in vitamin C if you have it in the form of sauerkraut. So there are so many things to do, and it's rich in fiber, and it'll bulk you up, and it'll move your bowels. Like simple things. And it's not just cabbage. You go into the vegetable aisle, and there's fiber as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
Right? So that'll help you to feel more full.
So the fiber is what makes us feel full.
Yeah, well, fiber and fat, fat also satisfies you on a deep level. So sometimes when people go on a too low fat diet, it's actually not good for the bones and not good for the endocrine system, because the majority of your hormones are fat. Right? They're made out of cholesterol and fat. So if it's too low fat, it's going to be problematic.
You see, it's trying to break the cycle of that low fat mentality that we're up against, because many of us have been taught, fat makes you fat, but that's not necessarily true.
That's right. That's very 80s.
I know. And, many people follow Atkins, but didn't he have a heart attack?
I think he might have had a stroke.
Yeah.
I think he might have had a stroke, or he fell and he bumped his head. I don't know. I'll have to look.
Maybe we need to do some research. Maybe my research team, Brian, is going to check out, what happened. How did he die? But they say that he bumped his head and that's why he died. But I think he bumped his head while he was having a heart attack.
It's very possible.
Because that is not a healthy lifestyle. It's been proven time and time again. But many of us fall into this fad dieting. We need to continuously think about nutrition as opposed to dieting. And so we're going to continue with Andrea Beaman and learn more recipes that will nourish our body and keep us satisfied. And I love that bone broth. I think I'm going to take that turkey bones out of the freezer, which my husband will be very, very happy. And we're going to continue our conversation with Andrea Beaman when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Isn't it funny that we throw out all the bones?
Yes, and we shouldn't. And wait, didn't you have like a TCM practitioner or somebody tell you that you should be having bone stock or something like that?
Yes. TCM.
Yes.
What's TCM?
Oh, traditional Chinese medicine or a naturopath.
Oh yeah. Everybody this has been, this is the thing, Andrea. When I don't hear about something and then all of a sudden I'm hearing about it over and over and over again, one of two things. I'm either the student that is ready to be taught, or it's a fad. And discerning between the two. Like now it's coconut and MTC oil and all these, like the Bullet and the Bullet coffee. Yeah. Have you ever heard about that?
Bulletproof coffee.
Yeah. And Dr. Joel Furman is like, there's nothing that will substantiate that. But then you talk to people who deal with dementia and Alzheimer's, and they say, okay, it helps the mind. Well, then they'll say, well, there's studies that say after 3 months, then you need a new something different because your body adapts. So when it comes to bone broths and food, does our body adapt, and do we need to one-up it again and keep one-upping it to kind of like with muscle training? When you do muscle training, if you do the same muscles or the same exercises, then your muscles get used to it. But is that how food works in our body, or does it work differently?
No, it works differently. So like we've gotten away in our modern society, we've gotten away from seasonal eating. So if you look at the studies now about the microbiome, which are fascinating, of course, and they're coming to the forefront.
Yes.
The tribes in South America and around the world that ate seasonally had the most diverse microbiome, because as the seasons change, the bacteria in the soil changes, and this is what they're getting every single season. They're changing, right? So here in a society where we have big agriculture and we just broccoli 12 months out of the year, not healthy. It's not going to grow 12 months out of the year. That's going to be it's going to feed one type of bacteria. That means it's going to feed only one type of bacteria in your stomach or in your body. So we have to give our microbiome more diverse food. And I think that is one of the things that's missing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, that is exactly what I'm researching right now, Andrea. There is a new test called gut check. They prick your finger and they get like blood out of this vial about this. Well, it's probably less. It's just a tiny little tube. And they do some checking, and it turned out that broccoli was high, that I need to give up broccoli for 3 months. And because I eat broccoli almost every day, and what you're saying, it does confirm it. But interestingly enough, lettuce was in there. So I said, well, if I can't have lettuce, what can I have? And he said, well, you can have spinach, you can have dandelion leaves, you can have
Yes.
So how do we know, Andrea, what's seasonal in our area? Because we're so detached from the growth of our food. What is your advice?
My best advice to find something local and seasonal is to go to a farmer's market.
But even farmers markets are flying in apples, flying in things that we don't have here.
Right. So then I would suggest go to localharvest.org and then join a CSA, a community supported agriculture, because you're going to know exactly what the farmer can grow at every time of the year.
Localharvest.org?
Localharvest.org. Like in New York, I've never, ever gotten a banana or a coconut in my CSA. So I know that they just don't grow here. So do I have them? Yeah, but I don't have them every day. No, because I know that is a completely different climate from me. And it's going to have a completely different reaction in my body than as if I was exposed to the sun all day long, like the coconuts and the banana.
Amazing. Amazing. So when I took this test, this gut check, and I spoke to the doctor who's going to be on my show, I'm like, I'm having a hard time. Oh, I think okay. There you go, Brian. Thank you. Oh, Brian, did you check that out? About Atkins, what he died of? I didn't even stop to look at it. Maybe while I'm doing the intro, Andrea, maybe. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where we always learn from one another, and you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my goal that we learn from one another. Go through life with childlike wonder. When you're a kid, you don't know anything, but look at how much you learn because you don't pretend. A child doesn't pretend they know anything. And they learn and grow, and they're so curious. Watch a child at play and adopt some of that attitude, personality. Whoa, what was that, Andrea? I heard a dog barking somewhere. Oh, okay. So I want to encourage you to go ahead and mute your mic, Andrea. Go ahead and mute your mic.
Oh, sorry.
And so I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com to learn more about this kind of attitude. Let's join a movement of taking 100% responsibility for our lives and the life that we want to live. And so when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, not only do you get some gifts, but you also have the show and who's going to be on the show delivered to your phone or tablet on a daily basis. And you also get my blog every week so that you know who's on for the following week. So let's grow together. Let's keep this going, this conversation of responsibility. Also, when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, I asked that you go to my sponsorship page, because without my sponsors, this show would not be on. So support my sponsors the way they have supported the show so that we can continue to grow. This is like continuing education, at least for me, and I hope that all of us can grow together. So when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on all my social media, like me, subscribe, do all that stuff. And if you have any questions for Andrea, I don't even think I even asked that. If you have any questions for Andrea, 407-373-5959. That's 407-373-5959. Now, Andrea Beaman, we're talking about delicious recipes that will heal our body. The first thing we talked about was bone broth, which is it's a craze out there. And we talked about off the air early before we went on, we talked about small fish. Why small fish?
Well, they're smaller on the food chain, so they have less of the crap as the larger fish that are eating all the smaller fish, right? So the further you go up the food chain, you're going to have more contaminated fish. And that actually is in the entire food chain, right? So the further you go up on the food chain with everything, at the top, you're going to have the most contaminated stuff. So like human beings, we are at the top of the food chain. We are the most contaminated.
Wow.
This is one of the reasons why sharks don't like to eat us.
Yeah, we have too much petroleum in us, right?
Yeah, they spit us back out. They'll take a bite and they'll spit us back out. Like you were asking me for like snacks and potential stuff like that, like a classic sourdough bread toast with olive oil, garlic, and some sardines. Right. So I remember growing up with sardines, like it was a hot thing. And if you go to Italy or the Mediterranean, sardines are still really a great food. And they're a small little fish. They're rich in omega-3s. They have protein, B12. They're delicious. Some people don't like them. I think they're delicious.
Okay. And so what about anchovies? They're even smaller, aren't they?
Oh my God, I love them.
Okay, so here's the thing. When you find sardines, you find them in cans and they're
or in little jars.
But they're loaded with oil. What about that?
Yeah, it's olive oil.
Is that okay?
Yes. I mean, especially if you have any type of bone stuff going on, you need more fats, you need more oils, you need to lubricate.
But don't you get that through the whole food? Because that's what, the whole food plant-based industry are saying, yeah, get the avocados and get the coconut and get the walnuts and get the olives, but get it in the whole food as opposed to just the oil, which doesn't have any nutritional value to it.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do that. Like you could even take those little sardines and anchovies out of the oil and put them on paper towels if you don't want olive oil. Okay. But again, let's look at traditional people. They've been having olive oil for how long? Yeah. Thousands of years, cold pressing it, not the way that we do it, extraction.
Got it. Okay.
Right? So it's a different type of extraction process. So you got to be careful with that. With all the nuts and the seeds and the fruit oils, all of that you got to be careful with.
Okay, so the cold press is the key word that we need to look for, right?
Yeah, the hot extraction, heating up, that's the modern version. And that they're going to get more oil that way, but it's going to harm the oils. It's not going to be healthy.
Okay, so let's start with a salad because salads are really easy. We can prep those on a Sunday, have them in our refrigerator ready to go, and boom, within 5 minutes you can make yourself a delicious salad. So what is your favorite salad to have? And we talked about how all year round is not possible, but let's talk about seasonally. What's a good salad to have?
Okay, so seasonally, what's a good salad to have? It's going to change in the spring, summer, fall, and winter. So I'll give you 4 salads if you want.
Okay.
So in the springtime, dandelion leaf salad. Marinate it. put some radishes in there, put something in it, but this is going to help the liver detox and cleanse naturally. In the summertime, here's your lettuce. Lettuce is coming back, right? You're not allowed to have lettuce. Have some lettuce. Have some arugula, right? Let's start to go that way, right? And then in the fall, we'll mix up your salads with roasted vegetables, right? Roasted carrots and roasted squash, and throw in some leafy greens in there. And in the wintertime, let's go back to cabbage and kales and all that stuff. Even in the fall, have those kales. So you can see that it'll change all year round. In the summertime, in the middle of summertime, a kale salad, it's a little too heavy, actually. Yeah. A nice, like, romaine, crisp, crunchy, cooling, right, would be perfect.
Very good. Okay. And what do you add? What about the vegetables that you add for that? Because I love onions and I love carrots. Can we have those seasonally? Do they grow seasonally?
They also grow seasonally. Okay. So, like, for example, you could have them all year round. But just make sure that the majority of the vegetables that you're using are seasonal. So, for example, winter squash, right? A heavy, you've seen them, kabocha, like, really, would you really want that on a 95-degree day? No. But you can get that squash in any Whole Foods or in any health food store anywhere. Even if it's 95, yes. And it's really too dense, too heavy. You'll feel exhausted. You won't have energy to get up and go for a swim or a run or whatever you want to do in the middle of summer.
Got it. Okay. The seasonal eating has been a theme that I've been learning about. And I was mentioning that to you during the break. And I think I'm going to maybe focus on that a little bit more for me.
Good girl.
Because broccoli is something I love broccoli and I could eat it every day of my life. Which I have been. Showed that in my gut check test that I'm going to do a show on gut check test. Showed that I was having too much of it and that I needed to back down because the bacteria in my gut is not used to having, if the broccoli is feeding one form of bacteria, it's not feeding the other stuff. So we need to switch it around. And now I understand the seasonal eating as well. So let's talk about, you talked about a little snack with the sardines. And when you mentioned the bread, we got to be careful here with the bread. Let's talk about how bread has become so processed that there's no nutritional value to it. Let's talk about bread.
Yeah, when I'm talking about bread, I'm not talking about Wonder Bread. I'm not talking about,
white bread, flour.
Yeah. Right. I'm talking about like a traditional and classic sourdough bread that has been, fermenting overnight, and when you see it, it has holes in it, right? When you cut it open, you see that it's already been pre-digested by the bacteria. It's very easy to digest. That is the kind of bread that I'm talking about, a classic whole grain sourdough bread, not talking about Wonder Bread that you put into the toaster. Oh, so that's your Dr. Atkins.
Yeah, Dr. Atkins. Thank you, Brian. He's our researcher on the Lillian McDermott radio show for today. Dr. Atkins slipped on ice in New York City, got a blood clot in his head, and he went into a coma and died. I'm not saying this. It sounds like I'm really excited about this. No, that's not what I'm glad. Thank you, Brian, for that. The reality is, yes, he slipped. Like I said, he slipped on, and then he died. But to me, that the diet, the Atkins diet, has been proven. The low fat, has been proven to not be as healthy, and it does deplete our bones from the nutrients that it needs. So, Andrea, what do you want to say about?
Well, I think that he had some good stuff. Like, for example, he got people off of junk food. Like when you started that Atkins diet, all of the junk food and the crap food had to go.
Yes.
So that was one of the good things. And all of the diets, like the fad diets, all of them, that's one of the good things that they do is they get people off the junk food. Unless you're on the Snickers bar diet.
Oh, I want to learn about that one. Okay, so here's the thing. When you talk about, yes, all of them had a good thing, but then during that time, that's when all the sugar-free products started coming out. And we started lulling ourselves into thinking, okay, I'm not having this Twinkie, but I'm having this sugar-free Twinkie, which is going to be better for me. And that's where we make the mistake to lump everything in. Sugar-free does not necessarily mean that it's not going to affect the glucose levels or your insulin levels in your body. So there's so much more we don't know. We don't know. Hopefully we'll dispel some of these myths as we go forward and you listen to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And today we're talking to Andrea Beaman. You can watch her or reach out to her at andreabeaman.com. And we're going to continue our conversation about delicious recipes for the year that will nourish and heal our body. And here's a tip: seasonal eating. And we're going to continue our conversation worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay.
Lillian, I love that you went to go get a gut test. I think that is fantastic.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Well, maybe I will introduce you to them because it's a new thing that's happening right now. As a matter of fact, I'd love to read to you. Let me see if I can get it real quick. Well, why don't you give a recipe while I research? Because I don't want to just have silence. So I'm going to mute myself. You give us a recipe that is delicious for dinner.
Oh, for dinner. Let's see. Well, if somebody does have a stock, a vegetable stock or a bone stock or any kind of stock that they want to get rid of, it's been sitting in their freezer for 100 years, right? Take that and get some roasted tomatoes. Like get a nice, roasted tomatoes. Or if you have your own garden, that's great. You could roast your own tomatoes. If not, you just get an organic can of roasted tomatoes and you throw that in with some olive oil and some garlic and some onion and some basil and a little bit of rosemary and cook that, salt and pepper, and then puree it so it's nice and smooth and creamy. And I would have that with the piece of sourdough toast with the olive oil. Toast the sourdough, put some olive oil on there and some sardines and some parsley. And I think that would be a really nice dinner or a lunch. Oh, and I don't hear Lillian, so I'm just going to keep going.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
I was speaking. Yeah, that's really good. So here's what I discovered with my gut check that they found. So I'm clicking on it now. And here it is. Wait a second. And Brian, keep us honest because I'm off. I'm not looking at the messages. Okay. So what they discovered in my gut check, one of them was soy products. Soy products because it measures the safe, mild, moderate, and severe. I didn't have any severe reactions, but I had some moderate reactions to orange, watermelon, cabbage, zucchini, egg white, and a mild reaction to egg yolks, which is okay. That I don't normally have that. Soybean. So that means soybean products, cow's milk, which I don't have. I was surprised they found casein in my gut. And then garlic. Oh,
and garlic.
Gosh. That's like sacrilegious.
That's funny. You know what that could mean? Like if you're having an allergic reaction to garlic, it could mean that there is some liver stagnation or phase 1, phase 2 liver detox may not be working as well as it could be because the liver's job is to clear all of that out. So if you have residue that's sitting, or then you may want to a dandelion leaf salad would be good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. It really helps you to move everything. Liver's going to push everything through.
So garlic. And, while everybody was coming down with the cold and the sore throats and all that, I would put garlic in my mouth. When you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you. Can you believe it? It's the last segment. Okay. At 407-37. By the way, I loved your recipe.
Oh, thanks.
Give another one. Okay. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where I'm just loving my time. I just revealed my gut check test and what it discovered. And Andrea believes that I may have some liver stagnation. So here's the thing. I was on a product called Xolair. It was for my asthma. For those of you who don't know this about me, I was born at 9 months. I had my first asthma attack and was hospitalized. Actually, it wasn't my first asthma attack. I was hospitalized at 9 months. And I've taken almost every drug you can imagine when it comes to asthma, whatever, asthma court, Pulmicort, inhalers, all of that, until 5 years ago, I switched to vitamin C, and I have been relatively symptom-free with the vitamin C. So now what's happened is, and I'll share this with you, my listening friend, but mostly Andrea, to see if your intuition pipes up. I think that because of this Xolair that I was on for 9 years, I think it still has kind of startled my liver. And perhaps maybe it's time for me to do a detox.
Yeah, I think detoxing are great, is especially if you've been on medication for a long period of time.
Yeah, I was.
Because, just like everything, where you have a tendency to accumulate in our cells and our fat cells and all that stuff. And our cells are made up of everything that we have eaten, right? So you've eaten medication for 9 years. So it's going to be in your cells. So there's going to be a period of detox, and you can move that along by helping your liver out. So like a marinated dandelion leaf salad. And dandelion leaf is hard for people to take. That's why I like to marinate it, because it's easier to digest that way. You could also—
How do you marinate it?
Oh, you marinate it with like apple cider vinegar, maybe a little bit of olive oil, apple cider vinegar, and honey to sweeten it a little. Just a little local honey. If you do it, if you don't, that's okay.
Yeah.
And just let it sit for about 30 minutes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you put some salt on there and just let it sit. And it's going to start to break down. It's going to start to marinate. And it has a different flavor. Like when you take the dandelion leaf straight, like as if you were having it in a salad, it is very bitter. Not everybody can take that flavor.
What about the powder? Because I put the powder, dandelion powder. Intuitively, I've been drawn to the dandelion.
Oh, good for you.
And I've been putting the dandelion powder. Is that the same?
Well, I've never seen dandelion powder. Is it like
it's an organic? Coffee? Yeah, it's just like a powder. You buy it in bulk, and the organic, I buy it at Sunseed or any place in the area that has this bulk, herbs like garlic powder, and you just get it. That's what I've been doing. I've been adding it to my smoothie. So I don't know if that's the same, but I will definitely start doing a dandelion salad. But anyway, so yeah, so it takes 3 months to detox the liver?
Generally speaking, and people may want to do it once per year, every year for a few years.
Okay.
Right? Because, like detoxing can be exhausting and draining. Mm-hmm. And if you are already in a state of deficiency and you start detoxing, then you're going to have trouble that comes, right? The immune system will crash. You won't have any energy. You'll feel lethargic, like initially really high. And then after that, you'll feel lethargic and tired. So you have to be careful with detoxing.
Yeah, healing crisis. Well, actually, Dr. Opachek, who was just recently on the show, he's a functional medicine doctor who's also a chiropractor. He's been the one that's been helping me with my adrenals. And so,
good girl.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing things that are different that I never thought I would do, just so that I can heal my body and have that baseline for the year. And I never thought of taking adrenals to help my adrenals, but that's what I ended up doing, and you were very good. You were very positive about that. Okay, so let's talk about throughout the day if we are hungry. The step is for us, or I'm trying the word, the habit is for us to just reach for a candy bar or a processed bar. Talk about that. What are some of the things that we should reach for, whether they're seasonal or not? I mean, I don't know if snacks or fruits are, you don't have to worry about seasonal or not, but what are some of the things that we can have to satisfy us if we can't make it to the next meal?
Okay. So when I was growing up in the 70s, we had a fruit bowl on the table, right? So that when the kids were hungry and they were flying into the house from being outside all day long, guess what? We grabbed an apple, we grabbed a pear, we grabbed a peach, we grabbed grapes, right? Because fruit is natural. It's a natural sweetener. You're getting your fiber, you're getting your fructose, and of course, you're not getting it in the concentrated version, which is the high fructose corn syrup, which is killing everybody.
Yes.
You're getting it with the fiber, with the water, with the nutrients, with the vitamin C, with everything that comes with. And for those of you that have blood sugar crashes, I would take fruit with nuts and seeds.
Mm-hmm.
right? So that you're getting some fat along with that. So it slows down the absorption of the sugar. But it's classic. And we're thinking in modern world, oh, I got to get a snack bar and I got to get, all these, everything that's packaged. When here we have this stuff that is given to us from the universe. Here you go, Earth. It's growing on all the trees. All you got to do is get it. And that is a great snack, like great snacks.
Very good. Okay. So you had mentioned a tomato-based meal. Let's talk about some of the herbs that we can add to our food that are very healing to the body as well.
Okay, so people, when they put herbs in their food, herbs help with the digestive system. They help you to absorb nutrients. They also stimulate your saliva. So there's a lot of things that happen with herbs. And people think they put in 1 tablespoon of herbs or 2 tablespoons of herbs and they're good. They got everything that they need. But I'm going to suggest sauces. It'll make your food more delicious. So like a pistou, a pesto, or a chimichurri. These are great sauces that have oregano and basil and parsley and garlic, and they've got great stuff in them, and you get high dose of herbs, culinary herbs that are very good for the digestive system.
Nice. Okay, so this is what I'd like to ask you to do. If you can send some of these chimichurri recipes, if you can send them, we're going to put them on the support group, the Lillian McDermott Radio Show support group that I'm encouraging you guys to join. Even if you've joined the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, there is a support group that we already have some people that have joined, and that's where we're going to put the recipes that you're listening to today. So you can send it to Ashley, Andrea, and maybe if there's like a food recipe that we can make in bulk and be able to have it throughout the week, something to that effect that will help us stay full and at the same time not feel like it's something that's not that we're having too much that's going to help make us gain weight or anything,
right?
Because a lot of people worry about that. And I know, Andrea, that you have a place that you need to go to today, right?
That is correct.
How are we doing with time?
We got to wrap it up.
You got to wrap it up. She's got to go because she's such a great friend of the show that Andrea always makes time for us. Thank you so much, Andrea Beaman, for being on the show. If you can send me those recipes, I will appreciate it.
You got it, Lillian. Thank you so much, and make it the best day ever, Lillian.
Yeah, that's way ahead of time, but yes, I will say it twice as I think of you. Thank you so much, Andrea, for being on the show. For those of you who would like to learn more about Andrea, you can go to andreabeaman.com. She is a lovely friend of the show. Love seeing her every month or whenever we can get her. But she is very busy, world-renowned, as I said earlier. And so for those of you who would like to learn more about her recipes, she will be sending them through to us, and we will post them on that page. It's the Lillian McDermott Radio Show support group. So thank you, Andrea. Thank you. She's saying she's waving goodbye. Okay, so for those of you who need support, we are all one. You're not alone. So we're going to start posting recipes from time to time. I will post what I'm making, and I'd love to have that conversation, that camaraderie that occurs. There's going to be too many people that are going to make fun of us because of the way we eat. There's going to be a lot of people who just they're feeling overwhelmed. Even I that have been working with food and tweaking things, the thought of making a broth kind of like, it's like, I don't know, this is something very foreign to me, especially since I haven't had red meat or pork, and in the last 5 years, I eat very, very little animal products. So with that in mind, I am going to venture into this, and we can do this together. So not only do you get to hear me at 8 o'clock, noon, 5 o'clock, for wherever you are, you can hear me at any time you want, but we're also going to stay connected online. So let's work together to make this year the best year ever. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day, say it with me, ever. Okay, it's unfortunate that sometimes Andrea Beaman has to go early, but today we got some of her pearls, and hopefully we will be able to tune in and get some of her recipes as well. So thank you so much for watching today, and I look forward to our next conversation. Goodbye.